Motivational speeches, TED Talks, special guests on TV. Millionaires and billionaires, people who made it, coming on to tell you how to succeed, just like them. Sometimes by following their dreams, sometimes sacrificing time with family for the greater good, sometimes by just putting their nose to the grindstone and never giving up in the face of failure over and over again. I'm not against advice. Advice is great. However, it is the certainty these experts have that anyone can succeed that's the problem. There's always something wrong with a person who doesn't make $1 million. They're too scared to follow their dreams, they're using their family as an excuse, they won't push themselves outside of their comfort zone, or because they don't work hard enough. They make the case that if they could make it, anyone can. Before college and a little after, I developed a deep sense of calm. From 15 years old and onward, I had deep depression, loneliness, and isolation. I have Asperger's that wasn't diagnosed till I was 22. I grew up with an incredibly structured system with little independence, and once I turned 18, I was expected to be an adult. It took me till I was 25 finally to be comfortable with basic adult things, including high school level dating. I lost my religion, discovered Buddhism and Taoism, and everything about the world made sense, and the keys to calm and happiness were provided. I became an expert on mental health and happiness. I felt I had reached enlightenment, and it's possible that I had, similar to a monk in an ashram. I freely gave advice about it to people having problems, some of which was helpful, but I'm sure there was always a twinge of blame and certainty that if you just did what I did, do what I tell you, you will succeed in improving your own mental health. Actually, with my Asperger bluntness, I bet there were quite a few occasions where it was a bit more than a twinge. When I turned 30, I got into a relationship. That suddenly added a huge level of complexity to my attempt at Zen. We both were in recession and went in and out of jobs, adding further levels of complication to enlightenment and psychological help. We finally reached a wall of options and she went back to grad school. Stress on both sides reached new heights just since grad school will chew you up and spit you out, especially if you're working full-time for a temp agency for low pay that doesn't have paid holidays, so you're constantly making up time if you dare have a day off. At the same time, I read several books on politics and just started coming to a breaking point for me, and I felt like I wasn't doing my part as a citizen, so I started a local group to switch our state to ranked choice voting. On top of this, I had several ideas for my YouTube channel, and I had a few projects, one of which could have made possible money, and I went back to school part-time for an AS in electronics and computer tech, so I could ensure that I'd never be unemployed again, as robotics and labs are becoming more and more common, then bought a 3D printer, which caused me endless amount of headaches. I felt like the problems I had were because of me, and that I just needed to work harder and I would finally be self-sufficient, that I needed to save the world or at least do my part. YouTube stopped being fun and nourishing, and the level of trolling and internet fighting got to be too much. Finally, things started breaking down for me. I had massive anxiety and started making serious mistakes at work. Thankfully, I had the VA to give me free psychological help, but it wasn't fast enough. Finally, I had made enough mistakes that they fired me. Though, in unemployment court, about 2 months of not knowing how we were going to support ourselves after a certain point, they found the firing to have been without just cause considering my condition, because I was actively pursuing treatment and other technicalities my employer failed to do to give me a chance to recover. I spent 5 months trying to figure out how to be Zen again during my job search, how to return to some level of contentedness. None of the methods I used back in the day to attain that contentedness worked anymore. The situation was completely different. I took a neurological test and I scored above average on everything, so figuring out what was wrong with me was nearly impossible. I kept going to therapy, I finally caved and started taking some anti-anxiety drugs. The next 24 hours I slept like the dead. My body didn't know how to wake up without the anxiety. I finally felt content. I had confidence again. After that, I had problems getting to sleep again as my brain was functioning at 100% again. I then had to turn down the dose on drugs and I could sleep again. However, when I felt myself coming down from the drugs, I could feel the anxiety creep back into me. The worry, palpitations, lack of confidence, mental sluggishness all came back, which meant I hadn't fixed the problem. Finally, after a month on the pills, I realized that my biggest problem was my urgency. Nothing I was doing was fun. I desired the outcome, but hated the process. Not just neutral on the process, which I could deal with, but I hated the process. There was too much I didn't know. Each one of my projects I was working on had a huge learning curve, and there was zero comfort zone in it. I tried and failed and thought I was the entire problem. I was the problem, but only in the fact that I expected the success without the scaffolding of other skills to streamline the process. All of these skills were several years into the future, and I was expecting them to work now. I thought I was just being lazy, being content learning for the sake of learning, and experimenting on my YouTube channel, and I needed to finally do something that made an impact. In an interview with a millionaire or billionaire, one of the things that strikes some reporters or writers is that they can't imagine or relate to people who aren't successful and making money and making their dreams come true. Even Bill Gates, one of the most humanitarian and philanthropic people in the world, has problems understanding why more people don't work hard to become entrepreneurs, to become successful and make gobs of money. It's just something that he can't fathom. Success is a learned trait. It also requires some level of financial stability and the ability to fail. It requires the ability to learn new skills and layer these skills and figure out how to streamline a process that works uniquely for you. Success requires you to find a specific niche in the market that you can do better than anyone else. It requires skills unique to that niche. If you don't have these skills, but you find the niche, it requires time and energy to learn and layer experience and skills to grab that niche before someone else does. We all remember the great inventor or entrepreneur who succeeded. No one remembers their rivals who were several months or years behind them and failed. There is a lot of hard work and sacrifice for success, but there's also being in the right place at the right time with the right skill set, right level of startup capital and safety net in case you fail, and the right connections also. If you have an idea, you have to push yourself to learn how to succeed in that idea. You have to be decent at every aspect of your business, especially true the less startup money or connections you have. Finance, payroll, marketing, accounting, HR, legal issues on top of whatever skill you need to make your product or idea function. Many people I know had businesses and failed, including myself, not because they were bad at it, but because someone else was better at it than them and they couldn't compete. Or because they were bad at the finance end or the marketing end, but really good at the actual production of the thing. The market has no sympathy for you if you fall behind just slightly. If Bill Gates or Elon Musk or any other of the wealthy people want to try something new, the only thing stopping them is effort. They can just take the time needed to learn the new process from other successful people with similar skill sets. They can easily raise capital and hire people to do the stuff they don't know how to do. They have a model for success that is just so ingrained into them it's second nature. Just like how many professors I know have problems explaining their subjects to a layperson. It's just second nature, so they can't remember the struggle needed to learn the subject. If they fail, they just have to feel the sting of failure. If the average person fails, they have to regain the capital, which could mean figuring out how to raise investment even after failure or going back and working in your old job some more, which you won't be able to go back to for the same amount of seniority and pay now. Failure is common, success is an outlier, which is in no way meant to denigrate the outliers and their hard work. However, their advice is blanket advice. They've reached the pinnacle, just like me with my advice on mental happiness and serenity when I was at the top. The brain forgets negative faster than positive, and especially forgets the tedium and worry and stress and anxiety from not knowing, and creates obvious certainty they would have succeeded. Having a positive attitude is essential for success, but so are a lot of other things particular to whatever niche you're trying to exploit. Unfortunately, the advice givers forget that, and their advice becomes quite similar to The Secret, where if you put out your positive vibes, you can change reality around you, where if you don't succeed, the fault is entirely on you. Or it could be that success is a lot more complicated. Instead, one should cultivate a love of learning, hard work, and trying new ideas and taking smart risks, so that when the situation arises, you'll be ready to jump on that instead of focusing on the success. Success is sometimes a happy side effect of all these things, but if you can't love the process, you'll hate your life and burn yourself out. Because of this blame the non-millionaire mindset, we have the obsession and worship of the job creators and denigrate the laborers that made the business possible at all. Anytime a wealthy person goes on stage and tells you what you need to do to be rich, it just adds to the narrative of blame the poor person. If a billionaire tries to tell you how to succeed, be incredibly skeptical. There's probably quite a lot they've forgotten, and some lies their own brain have tricked them into believing. Hey there, thank you so much for watching this video. If you like what you saw from my channel, please subscribe and donate to my Patreon. If you have evidence to counter what I say, please provide it. If you would like to see what I was doing with this channel 6 years ago, please click the links on the screen. Thank you so much.